Hello, I'm Derek. Welcome to my new project. It's called A Little Wine, A Little Time. This is a new production and new beginning for my little media company, Dliciousmedia. It's basically just going to be me, my iPad, and a delicious glass of wine talking through some things. Having some wine and taking some time to talk through some issues. Most of the focus will be on politics through the lenses of media and online discussion. It's a pairing of topics and wine. So, over the last several years, I've spent a good amount of my time in discussion and debate with folks on the platform of Facebook mostly. A good amount of this project is going to be discussion and digestion of online political discussion and discourse, and maybe some random discussion from time to time as well. If you have anything you'd like to add, definitely feel free to discuss in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Delicious Media YouTube channel. Again, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say. If you find the content has value to you, you can kick me a few bucks via my Delicious Media Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, and help me grow my company. Links are available in the show notes. It's kind of a rough crowdfunding until I can come up with some ideas for a Patreon. I would be very grateful. I'm looking to build a media co-op with the goal of growing it into a media B corporation. I've only found one media B corporation, so I'll be building the model as I go. Thank you for your support. So, episode 1, the origin story. While I tell this story, I'll be enjoying a delicious glass of the legendary Snoop Dogg's Snoop Cali Red by 19 Crimes. I have it open and breathing for a little bit. I will be talking more about the wine later in this episode. Okay, so where to begin? I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. So before Donald Trump was elected president, I almost never talked politics online or on my Facebook page. The most political post I'd ever shared was a video of Barack Obama roasting Trump at the 2011 White House Correspondents Association dinner. It was hilarious. Obama is funny. He should do stand-up, in my opinion. His timing and delivery are beautiful. On point. So on point. I was actually hoping that Biden would make Obama press secretary. Could you imagine Give No F's Obama out there talking to the press every day? That would be amazing. But yeah, my Facebook memories show me this every year. Until Trump was elected president, that was pretty much the only kind of political post I'd ever made, other than posting pictures of my voting stickers with maybe a little caption. I think when Obama was elected, I simply posted "We the People." Some believe Obama's roast of Trump was part of what motivated Trump to run in the first place. Who knows? Definitely check out the video on YouTube. I'll link it in the show notes. But yeah, then there was election night 2016. I never imagined this country could elect such a horrible human. A narcissistic, sociopathic, lying, toxic orange con man. Wow. It was just wow. A shady real estate developer and reality TV star whose catchphrase was, "You're fired." Good stuff. Good stuff. I'll never understand. It's mind-boggling and mind-numbing. I didn't sleep that night. I mean, we all had good reason to worry. Look how it ended. With a coup attempt and conspiracy to overthrow an election in the will of the American people and basically overthrow our democracy. We were right to worry. Good time for a swig of vino. That's delicious. But ugh. Not ugh to the wine. The wine is delicious. Ugh to Trump. So the morning after the election, I hadn't slept. And I wrote a Facebook post about how I didn't feel complicit, but I was definitely feeling complacent. If I had believed he stood any bit of a chance of winning that election, I would have done more than just vote. I would have spoken out more. I would I would have used my voice as loud and as often as possible. Never again will I not. Never again will I not use my voice and my speech. That was the first time I spoke out on social media. I didn't really start speaking up again until COVID hit, when things got really crazy. So much misinformation, so many conspiracy theories, so much toxic rhetoric. I threw a lot of stuff up onto my Facebook wall, typing fast and furious, getting involved on threads of the Facebook walls of friends and family and media pages. It got a little crazy. Then there was a shift. A good friend of mine invited me to a private political discussion group on Facebook, a little private fight club. I won't give the name of the group because first rule of Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club. But this opened me up to a new mission, a new goal. I was going to understand the problem. You can't solve a problem until you understand the problem, and every problem has a solution. I talked with anyone who would give me the time of day. Arguments and discussions, back and forth, talking about issue after issue, from economics to guns, fascism, BLM and Antifa, COVID, socialism versus capitalism, January 6th, etc., etc., etc. Issue after issue. I'll be covering a lot of those issues in this podcast. That group I joined, it's funny, it's actually become like a little family. An extremely dysfunctional family, but a family nonetheless. I've been in that group somewhere around 3 or 4 years, and at this point, I've made many friends there over these years. Some lefty friends and even a few frenemies on the right. When you talk to people regularly over the course of several years, you develop relationships. You get to know people. You can see different folks' tendencies, speech patterns, etc. It's really interesting getting to know people as individuals, even when they sound like parrots sometimes. We all have our own levels of knowledge and skill with language, perspective, vantage points, and points of view. We all speak our own language, and both sides have their own language. We understand words and concepts in different ways. As I work on this project, I'll also be working on some parallel projects involving language. So much of our disconnect seems in many ways to come down to language and the understanding of language. Language and the understanding of language may be one of the keys to solving some of the divides and disconnects in our political discourse. I've actually had a few good talks with some Trumpers and folks on the right when we get off the topic of politics. There's one of them that I've really become very fond of, actually. He once taught me that ferns can be used to clean soil, and that ferns may be used to clean soil that may be contaminated. And he taught me how to harvest my marigold seeds. Marigolds are my favorite flower, and Marigold is one of my favorite Nirvana songs. We both dig music too, and I like his taste. One day I decided to friend request him. I friend request some folks from time to time if I build up some trust. I invite them into my world. He often compliments some of my photography. He likes my use of lighting and composition. I appreciate that. I've met some really cool and smart folks on both sides, from around the country and even around the world. Keyboard warriors, I call them. Excuse me. Folks out there on the interwebs fighting the good fight. Warriors of the information age. Fighting an online war of words and ideas. I've developed friendships even though we've never met in person. Like, I'd like to have like a cookout or something with them one day or something. I change the subject to sports sometimes. A few of the guys in the group are fellow Bills Mafia, and I'm a huge Bills fan. I try whenever I can to turn the conversation personal and human. Humanity is something that's definitely become hard to find in this country's current political discourse, and I try to find it whenever I can. Delicious. Humanity. We need to find it. Whenever we can, we need to find links to our common humanity. So yeah, I've made some friends online over the last few years. I like talking to people. I love getting to know people. I spent a lot of years interviewing musicians in front of microphones and in front of cameras. Before the pandemic, I'd often be sitting at a bar on my days off, having some afternoon beverages and chatting it up with the bartender or a stranger that I was sitting next to. It was a, it was during COVID that I found these online forums that scratched that itch and gave me an outlet. I love conversation, but I was also there on business first and foremost. I ask a lot of questions, poking and prodding, doing what I've done in the past on my previous music podcast. I interview people, trying to figure out where people's heads are at. I try to understand folks' psychology. I've been working to understand where individuals are coming from. I've come to several hypotheses, and that's what the focus of this project will be. So, where are we overall? Well, basically, we have two main sides that both believe the other side is either stupid and or crazy. We basically have two main sides who believe the other side to be Nazis. Now, I'll argue that one side actually aligns ideologically with literal Nazis, but we'll get a little more in depth about that subject in another episode. We have two sides that believe the other side to be brainwashed by media and in a cult. I'll argue that one side consumes media that was literally derived and modeled after Nazis' propaganda machine and echoes white supremacists and white nationalists, aka Nazi talking points and rhetoric, but we'll get more in depth into that in future episodes as well. We live in a world full of crazy conspiracy theories. We have groups of folks who seem to live in completely different and alternate universes and view the world completely opposite of each other, backwards and inside out. So my main overall hypothesis, overarching some other hypotheses under the main umbrella, we need more and more discussion, not less. Talking politics can be kind of taboo. Don't talk politics or religion at the bar or Thanksgiving, right? I think that's a huge part of the problem. Not talking is how people end up in alternate universes and completely inverted understanding of things. It's how different groups don't see others as human beings sharing this country and this planet, but as complete enemies. Enemies that are hell-bent on destroying the country and the world. We've gotta keep talking. We've gotta keep dialogue going, and we need more of it. We need more folks and more voices involved. We need to humanize whenever possible. We've got to work together on this. We the people, right? We need to see political dialogue as our civic and patriotic duty. I understand why some folks sit on the sidelines. Political discussion can be mind-numbing and like beating your head against a wall. It can be incredibly frustrating, but we've got to do it. We've got to talk and talk some more. These problems and the disconnect are deep-seated. The current divide has been decades in the making. The rise of mainstream right-wing media like Fox News has been deliberately and systematically driving us apart and purposefully creating an unnecessary divide. The war on Christmas is maybe the best example, and it definitely deserves its own episode. We will get there in the future. Over the last several years on social media, there's been a lot of blocking and unfriending. People retreat to their echo chambers and cut themselves off from the other side instead of listening and engaging and trying to understand and working to talk it out. We've got to break through that somehow. We've got to burst the bubbles and the echo chambers. Use our words before, God forbid, we start using weapons. There are many out there who seriously believe we're headed for a civil war, and what's worse is some people actually want one. That would be devastating. We've got to talk this out. We've got to use our voices as much as possible. It's really delicious. So overall, this is where we are. The origin of how and why this podcast has come to be, and a little outline of where I'll be taking it. I'll be talking through many of the topics I've been debating with folks over the last few years. I'll be breaking down the arguments and doing my best to unravel some things. As I get deeper into things, I'll be interactive with it, turning online conversation into episodes. As I'm recording this, Today I'm actually in discussions about capitalism, socialism, UBI, um, what side the Nazis were on of the political spectrum. I'm in like several conversations at the moment. One on AI. So I hope you check out my other episodes. If you're watching and listening to this one, I will hopefully already have released at least a few others. But that's not all. In just a sec, I'm going to talk about this delicious vino I'm enjoying after a quick message. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and if you find my content has some value, you can kick me a few bucks via my Delicious Media Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. Links are available in the show notes below. Kind of a start to a crowdfunding type deal. But now let's talk about this wine. I paired this episode with 19 Crimes Snoop Cali Red. It's a wine I've enjoyed before, and it's pretty delicious for the price. It's a blend of Merlot, Zinfandel, and Petite Syrah. It's bold and slightly tannic. It's a little more on the dry side than sweet, and it's kind of drying out my throat a little bit. I probably should have some water too. And it's slightly acidic. According to the app Vivino, and by the way, Vivino is a great app if you are a wine lover. I highly recommend it. But according to Vivino, you get notes of cherry, raspberry, strawberry. It has some notes of vanilla, oak, and chocolate. I definitely get those notes. Some blackberry, plum, and it's jammy. It would pair great with beef or lamb, but it's pretty good just on its own. I hope that it might have... Oh, wait. I thought it was a good pairing to the first episode of this podcast, A Tone Setter. I hope it might have the same impact on our political discourse that the great Snoop Dogg had on hip hop. Gangsta. The overall goal of this episode was to lay out the origins of why I'm starting this podcast. The overall goals of this podcast are to digest our political discourse and work to come to better understandings of things. We need to raise the level of our political discourse. We need to detoxify it if we can. It's going to take work. As dark as things may seem sometimes, I do have a lot of hope for the future. I believe that if quality effort is put into communication, we can work towards an incredibly promising future. We could see a paradigm shift. We could spark a new period of enlightenment, a new golden age. We could spark some sort of new renaissance. We just need to talk it out. We have to always keep learning and growing. So, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me for episode 1, and I hope you check out other episodes and discussions. I'm going to end this episode with a Snoop quote. The more medicated, the more dedicated. So have a little wine to self-medicate. Of course, drink responsibly. And let's get dedicated to working as hard as possible on some deep-seated problems. That's all for now. Until next time, be well and stay well. Peace, love, and delicious wine. Peace.